Channel 5 network. This is OpenLine.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to OpenLine tonight. It's time for another monthly edition of Beyond the News. And my guest tonight, of course, a News Channel 5 team member. I would say one of the loudest in the newsroom. Definitely most energetic in the newsroom. Very sincere, a veteran here, welcoming and always on Facebook, which is what he's doing now. You guessed it. It is the one and only Nick Beres.
Thank you for...
We are Facebook Live.
We are
Nick Beres' Facebook page right now.
Nick Beres, NC5. Okay, yes. And you can comment or ask questions. And thank you for having me on.
Don't put it so close, my face.
I know, I didn't. I was just messing with that. I'm sorry.
No one looks good like that.
No, you look great, and you just got offset anyway, and you look fantastic. And I'm. Well, you know, is this appropriate or not?
Yes, because this is called Beyond the News for a reason. We want to know about your life outside the news business.
Okay, it looks like I just got off the Tour de France.
This is you. When I see you in public, out in Wilson County, where we both live.
That's right.
This is you.
It is kind of neat. You live just down the road from us.
Just down the road.
Just down from the Glade, but off of Central Pike. And do you like Wilson County?
Love it.
Yeah,
Love it. We kind of just chose it on the blind lark, and it's been perfect.
It is kind of neat how you got here and just ended up coming out. People, we have talent. Well, Vicki Yates lives kind of in our neck of the woods, and
we have a good scattering of people.
Yeah, all around, which is good, I think, for a news station to have people all about.
Now, I have to remind people, this is OpenLine. This is your chance to call in, ask questions of Nick, ask him anything.
I don't think anyone will call. That's okay. They know me from in the mornings.
No, we're going to have a record number of calls.
And people...
But you're the moderator in the morning. You're the guest
I know.
now.
It's different for me. This is completely different for me.
And Nick asked today, by the way, the number's on the bottom of the screen, 615-737 plus.
7587.
You should know the number.
I know the number.
Nick said, are you going to bring me snacks? So I rated my snack
You said there were only like 3 or 4 left in there.
There are literally like 3 cheeses left. There's about a third of a bag of peanuts.
All right.
And this is my water, so you don't get it. And he was afraid I'd make him cry.
I know.
So I brought you tissues as well.
Have you made anyone else? Who else has been on the show?
We started with Vicki, of course.
And she cried.
Had to start with Vicki. She did not cry. She did not cry.
You guys would not believe some of the most fun things about the newsroom is watching the inner office kind of skirmishes when they start screaming at each other in the side anchor.
No, don't even start that rumor. It is not like that at all.
Doesn't happen.
Rory was on, Bree was on, Chris Conti was on.
Matthew Torres was on.
Matthew Torres, and also Cena came on. John Burton was on.
Yep.
So we've had lots of folks.
Okay, so
now
thank you for having me on. It's different for me not asking the questions. So I will shush, and I'm still just kind of panning this around. Someone just wrote in and said, loved Mashed Tater. Now I have a dog named, do you know Mashed Tater?
Everybody knows Mashed Tater. Mashed Tater's always on your Facebook page. Right. A rescue dog. Rescue is so important to you.
I'm glad. That's the one thing you can ask me about is the Animal Rescue Corps. My wife volunteers with that, and look, I'm just to the point now. There are so many dogs to me. Do you have a dog?
I do have a dog, Pippa.
Okay, and what kind of dog? Is it
she's a Boston Terrier.
Oh, they're the best.
Yes.
Well, all dogs are great. I just think dogs are absolutely pure love. And I think about how Metro Animal Control takes in so many dogs, and if they're not adopted, after a period of time, they're the last stop.
Right.
And healthy, wonderful dogs sometimes have to be put down. Yeah. And it breaks my, that is pure love being put down, but there's no choice because the resources and you can't just cut them loose. So that's something, especially as I get older, I become, and my wife's gotten me more into it, getting involved with Animal Rescue Corps, getting involved with shelters, and trying to encourage everyone to adopt, rescue, and shelter dogs.
And Mashed Tater is a perfect example. You guys have given her a great home, and she's brought you so much joy.
Mashed Tater's 3-legged pup, no teeth. She was probably 14 or 15 years old when we adopted her. And when we adopted her 4 years ago, my wife and I, she just falls for all these dogs. Oh, this is such a cute. And I'm looking at her and go, look, we can take this dog home and let her have maybe a last 2 or 3 weeks of comfort and love after. Well, that's what I thought. She just looked, she was rough when we adopted her. Now 4 years later, it's amazing what some tender loving care. And she's getting older. I don't know how much longer she has. She's fine, but she's an old dog. And she was when we got her. But we didn't think she'd live more than a few months. And, just being cared for and realized she's loved after being in a horrible situation at a puppy rescue. She's been great.
Aww,
and so I encourage that everyone, just please get involved, adopt, rescue, and shelter dogs. And
hey, guess what? We already have phone calls.
Well, you have one or two? Let's not take one. I'd rather talk right now.
Just wait. We'll get to that. It's OpenLine. You have to talk to the people,
Okay,
Nick.
but a lot of people are saying hi.
Bob, you're on the line. Go ahead with your question for Nick.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Nick who the journalists were he admired when he was growing up, and if he in fact went to school with any journalists who turned out to be anything.
Okay.
Well, that's a good question. Look, I grew up watching like 60 Minutes, okay, and I watched our local news. I grew up in Eugene, Oregon, all right, and we had a small market. It's up
there.
Yeah, it's a smaller 3-station market, and so a lot of my idols were some of the local news people. Because as a young kid, I enjoyed watching it. I'll say this: my father is someone that I always admired, and he was a journalist. He wasn't a television journalist, but newspapers, and then he went into more publicity with the University of Oregon and along those lines. But let's see, I went to school, undergrad at the University of Oregon, and then I got my master's from Northwestern University. And
I was so impressed when I read that. You have your master's.
Yeah, it really helped me. I don't know if I was ready to go into TV news. I went into publishing right out of undergrad, and then I realized I'd like to try TV news, and I thought I needed a little bit more. And my dad had gone to Northwestern, which is one of the better journalism schools in the country, and so I went there and got my master's, and then I was able to get a resume tape and send it off and get my first job.
Let me ask you this: you don't fit the mold as a typical reporter. You don't report like a typical reporter.
I don't think that's fair.
Your own style.
I don't think that's fair.
No, I'm not saying it's.
I'm looking up your nose.
Saying it's a bad thing.
All right.
I'm just saying you don't fit that mold. You stand out. Is there ever been a news director or a professor in your life that said, "Nick, you ain't going to make it"?
No. You know what? When I was at Northwestern, and my personality was similar to this, I remember, being kind of a pain sometimes and bouncing all around, and one of my professors just looked at me and said, "You're going to be perfect in the newsroom."
I love that.
That's what they just said. Perfect in the newsroom because of the enthusiasm and always the excitement of wanting to do something, get the next story, enjoy the competition of it, and most important, to get stories for our viewers.
Sure.
So that's number one for me, and to be accurate, get it first. But the competition, I like the idea of getting exclusives or beating the competition.
Yeah.
It's a friendly rivalry or whatever, but yeah, no one's ever said no. Did you have someone say that to you? I hope not.
I did. No, but not because I was, reported in a different way. Just because of the career or the school path I chose. I was at the University of Louisville.
Oh, okay.
I was going to my junior year. I was getting an internship at the NBC affiliate, and the professor in charge said, "This is not a journalism school. You're never going to get a job. You need to transfer to IU, which had a journalism program." I thought, I'm a junior in college. I'm not starting over.
Right.
Don't tell me I can't get a job. By golly, I did.
So wait, that's interesting though. So you didn't know what you were going to do when you went
did.
Did you know that going in as a freshman?
I knew exactly. I chose poorly when it came to choosing my college.
Louisville is a good university.
It's a good university. It's not a journalism school.
Okay.
I chose for the wrong reasons.
But did they have a communication department?
Yes, I have a communication degree.
Okay.
So there you have it.
Yeah.
Had some journalism classes. I would say my real learning experience was being an intern in a newsroom and then being kept on in different roles. Producer, worked my way up and landed my reporting job there, first one.
What was your first job
I was a news clerk, which newsrooms don't even have anymore in Louisville.
That's starting in a pretty darn big market right out of college.
Yeah.
But was your goal maybe to be an anchor or?
Eventually, I just always wanted to report.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to do.
I'll tell you what, I remember when you first started working here, I forget what it was, but you went up in the helicopter for something.
It was Floyd Cook.
You
Remember that manhunt?
So good. Well, because you just started, and I'm pretty picky. I mean, I wouldn't tell it to her face, but we've seen them come and go, and some of them aren't that good. It's just the way it is. And I just remember you being up in the copter and watching you for the first time, especially being nervous, maybe being up in the helicopter, starting in a new market, and you were flawless. And I was like, wow, that's really good.
I appreciate that. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Back to you. We're going to get to the
really,
lines.
it's not about you. It's about me.
Let's talk about you, Nick.
Okay.
Paul is on the line. Hi, Paul.
How are y'all doing?
Hi,
We're
Paul.
great. Go ahead.
First question, ducks or beavers?
That's a great question. I'm a duck. I'm an Oregon Duck. But the annual game every year, the football game, is the Civil War. Ducks. Can you think of two more crazy names than the Ducks and the Beavers? Are you a Beaver or a Duck fan?
I'm a Duck fan. I went out there one time and fell in love with it. But I'm born and raised here, so I'm a UT fan.
Okay.
Second question.
Yeah. Well, I got my UT hat on. Okay.
Yeah, Larry Britton.
Yeah. Oh.
Tell us a couple of good stories about your time with him, and do you still keep in contact with him?
Yeah.
I'll get off the line.
Hey,
Okay.
thanks for calling.
Paul.
I'm so glad you brought him up. Now, Larry Britton, it's a name you may have heard.
I've heard.
But he was an incredible investigative reporter in this market, back first in newspapers. And there were two newspapers in Nashville, the Tennessean, which is still here, and the Nashville Banner. And Larry Britton was with the Banner, and he was kind of, if you would, going back, he was like the Phil Williams, okay?
Gotcha.
In a different realm. And the two reporters, very different people, but that kind of cachet, just a top-notch investigative police reporter. And Larry Britton then got out of newspaper and was brought here to this television station. And a legendary reporter. He was, the movie Marie, I don't know if you're familiar with that, or some of these other big stories that he covered, you know, obviously the sit-ins and things like this. Larry was part of that, and not one, I guess, month after I started work here, and Larry was, you know, someone people are intimidated by. And I didn't know who he was because I had just gotten out of here from Los Angeles. They started this News Channel 5 Plus network, okay? And they said one of the headline shows we're going to have on the Plus is going to be a morning talk show that's an hour and a half. And they're looking at me thinking, well, this is this crazy guy from LA. And we've got Larry Britton, who is the most traditional, hardcore local reporter. We're going to put them together.
Yeah.
And he and I sat side by side like this for the first 3 or 4 years and had to kick off the Plus, which has now been around for all these years, on this set, taking calls and doing public affairs and inviting guests on. And Larry was, I learned an awful lot from him. And you know what you realize when you're around someone for a long time? He would always, early when I started working here, I would do a lot of features and stuff like this and fun stuff. And they're like, why are you doing that kind of stuff, Nick? You gotta start doing more hard news. It's kind of his accent. And I heard what he was saying, but it took me a while to come around to it. When he finally retired, after all those years of being around Larry and learning from him, that's the direction I just naturally went. The competitive spirit, getting to know contacts, breaking stories, and hard news. And while every once in a while I like a feature, he was right from the beginning. He goes, Nick, hard news and the type of news that changes people's lives, okay, and makes a difference is what you want to do.
Yeah.
An occasional feature is great in a newscast.
And it's good for your soul, too.
Right, isn't it?
It is.
But especially with you reading all these depressing stories, they have a place.
Yeah.
But those aren't the stories that truly make a difference in people's lives, and that's something I learned from Larry. And I can think of other stories to tell you. Maybe one will pop into my head. There's a ton. The man was a legend. He is a legend. And I do keep in touch with him. He's doing well. His wife recently passed away, and he's still here in town, and he still watches the news, but he's slowed down a bit like we all do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, before we go to a quick break, we have your desk neighbor, Chris Conti, on the line. Hi, Chris.
Oh, good evening.
Well, good evening.
I'm a long-time listener.
This is, look, I remember when Chris came on the show. Chris,
were you watching?
No. We're not spinning this to you again. I heard you were trying to make it about Carrie somehow. Listen, I just want to say that my favorite time of the year is when Nick Beres goes on vacation because it is so quiet.
I thought you were going to say when it's snowing and Nick's on the live shots and all the different hats.
With the hats, no.
It's when he's gone.
Yes.
You do sit kind of like right across from each other.
I was looking up at the TV and I said, I've seen this outfit before. And it was that time that he was running down the street near Mike Rose's house and that tree fell on the road and he decided he was just going to go live in the thunderstorm.
Yeah, it was a tornado. I survived a tornado, Chris.
It was
He's a good man.
He does. He sits near me. Chris is serious. He's focused. He's so good at what he does. And I do drive him crazy. But that's just...
I will say, Nick always brings me honey, which is very nice.
Oh, that is very nice.
Well, I'm very fond of your parents.
And Nick and I both share a love for strange foods like kale chips and other things.
What is it again? What were the potato type things we got from...
the sun chokes.
The sun chokes. Have you ever tried a sun choke?
Those are good.
Yeah, Chris turned me on the sun chokes.
They're
good. Yeah, it's kind
of. What are you doing with your phone right now?
We're going Facebook Live on my page.
In my face. It's scary. He's scaring the audience.
This should say enough to you about Nick Beres' ego. One camera is not enough for him.
We've got 4 in here, and then this one. But this one's on her the whole time.
Stop pointing it that close.
Sorry. All right.
Hold it back.
All right.
Okay, Chris, thank you for calling.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. I'll see if you can read my cues. I'm like, we have to take
Chris does tolerate me.
Oh, we all love you. We all love you. Okay, we are going to take a quick break.
You don't know the half of it. You don't ever even see me at work.
Facebook Live. I know, not very often.
Right.
We'll stay with you guys live.
Stay, because they'll see what happens during the commercial breaks.
We're coming right back. Stay with us. More of your phone calls, too. Go ahead and call in with questions for Nick.
Just call.